Queez! Bloody nailed it, hasn't he? I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic. You are a sexual wank faisant. Myself and Tom Campbell's reactions to Survivor Series 2019 will be out on this channel later on this evening, where you will find if I kept this championship title or not. But here we are for all of the WTF moments from Survivor Series 2019, and it was a bit of a weird night. There was plenty to enjoy. It was a really fun show, but also there were big moments. I've gone Scottish there for some reason. There were big moments that just really pissed you off, and that's never nice, is it? Let's get cracking with the knacking. WTF! So we kick things off with Jonathan Coachman, who kicked off the Kickoff show by saying the Kickoff show is a show where 1 hour is just not enough. Oh, Jonathan Coachman, you ignorant slut, 1 hour is more than enough, and you know it is. And then we have Big Charlie Caruso, who said, if NXT TakeOver last night is any indication, we're in for one hell of a night at Survivor Series. Because that's how it works and how it's always worked, isn't it, Charlie? If I had £1 for every single time an NXT TakeOver completely overshadowed the main roster pay-per-view that followed it, I'd be able to afford something that costs roughly £25 or more. Or a little bit less, maybe. It's about opinions, in it. So we learned at the start of the Kickoff show that the night before the Kickoff show, David Otunga had everybody around to his house for dinner. And that got me wondering, what the hell would David Otunga cook for dinner? Of course, it's a lovely, succulent plate of dust, the boring bastard. A plate of dust, a pint of still water. That's all you're getting from David Otunga, I bet. And I've got no idea why I've said that, but I have, so let's move on. It's him. Oh, it's John O'Clock, you bastards! But while I was waiting for John to make a massive old whoopsie, just like the time he let us know, without himself knowing, that he likes to look at pictures of muscular naked women on the internet, Sam Roberts filled that time by speaking absolute bollocks. He was speaking about how Becky Lynch apparently is clinging on to be the most relevant superstar in WWE today because Sasha Banks is powerful on Friday Night SmackDown, and then he said, who can beat Shayna Baszler? Rhea Ripley did like a day before. Tea time. So we have boring David Otunga saying that when you're Ronald Mysterious and Brock Lesnar has put his hands on your baby boy, you make sure you do everything in your power to do something bad in response to Brock putting his hands on your baby boy. Booker then replies with, I get your point with Ray wanting to do anything, but if this was the real world, I can understand that. But everything here is, you know, we got rules and regulations. It's no holds barred, Booker. There are no rules. Are you seriously sat there insinuating that Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio and everything Brock has done to Dom has been fake? It would appear so, yeah. And then Booker was speaking some more bollocks about Ronald Mysterious and said the man who throws the first punch is the man who was run out of ideas. And then David Otunga replied to Booker T, well, Booker, Brock threw the first punch and Dave was right. And Booker T, if you are getting put right, put in your place by David Otunga, who is a complete waste of all of the oxygen in all of the arenas around the world, it's time to pack up and go home, son. You've had an absolute Western supermare. And then they showed a promo package for NXT TakeOver War Games, and we saw a Cultaholic sign. And also a big thanks to Austin Wilk, Mike, Cody and Colton Kaiser for their Cultaholic signs throughout Survivor Series weekend. Next time you go to a show, spread our lovely name. And I've got to make it a WTF moment because somebody in the crowd at Survivor Series 2019 actually paid the $100 WWE are charging for a severed Rob Zombie head. And I've always wondered what it looked like to actually have more money than sense, but finally we actually know what it looks like. So next up we have Shawn Michaels talking about training the NXT lads and lasses. He said it's real, it is every bit real and a blast to do, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And then he did something that made my penis crawl up inside of itself. I don't know why I had to go phallic, but I did. Shawn said we wouldn't have it any other way. Oh, I've just died a bit more inside. And we have to make this a WTF moment as well. The shocking revelation that Kickoff show matches actually counted towards the big scores on Survivor Series night. You cannot forget what happened last year and how the New Day and SmackDown Live were completely hoofed by this system, never forget. And then we have Nigel McGuinness, the saucy scoundrel, saying that just because SmackDown won one of the Kickoff matches, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and that's a WTF moment because that's what WWE said in their statement about the Wednesday night wars that don't really exist for me, but you know, just enjoy the wrestling. And I've brought this up for reasons I don't quite understand, but I felt like I had to, so we're here. Kofi Kingston on the Kickoff show. It's just sad, isn't it? And I mentioned this on the reactions with Tom Campbell that are coming to this YouTube channel later tonight. When the commentators are talking about Kofi Kingston, it's always 7-time WWE Tag Team Champion. It's always the wrestler who has held a tag team title for the longest time in WWE history. It's never former WWE Champion Kofi Kingston. That reign has seen a carpet lifted. Hello, Christopher Benoit. How you doing? Swept under there with him, forgotten about, and it is bollocks. It bloody well doesn't, like, in my opinion, it goes AEW, it goes NXT, then it goes Raw and SmackDown. And next up we have Christian saying the Viking Raiders seem to be unbeatable at the minute. And I know that some people like to pretend those Saudi Arabia shows don't actually happen. I'm one of them. Shane McMahon, best in the world. Oh, but they do happen, Christian, and the Viking Raiders lost at the last Saudi Arabia show, so there you go. They are beatable, Birdman. And then we kicked off with a lovely package opening the main show, which contained a phrase I didn't think we'd have to suffer through for 1 year only, just because NXT were involved this year, and that's where Michael Cole claimed, of course, that Survivor Series is the one time of the year the superstars of Raw and SmackDown go head-to-head in competition. And that's even though every other year, including this year, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania cards, Money in the Bank, you don't need me to say these things. It's absolute bollocks, guys! Now, I don't care about the ratings one bit. We're getting 2 absolutely fantastic wrestling shows on a Wednesday night, and right now, I feel the need to turn into Gary YouTube and say, we're blessed. But I've got to ask the question, WWE, what's happened since that premiere rating? You know. And then we've got to make it a WTF moment, even though I guess it made it more concise, so you know, we got to see more wrestling. But why were the teams coming out to their show's theme as if they were jobbers in a battle royal? It would appear that in the battle for brand supremacy, you would have everything that makes you an individual, stripped away from you. It just felt really wrong, didn't it? Carmella is an idiot. Well, she is going out with Corey. I'm only messing. Or am I? Yes, I am. Anyway, it's an elimination tag team match, yet she is stood there shouting, "Cooey, hello, I am here. Attack me, please." And I was thinking, why the hell wouldn't you just let the other 2 lasses in the ring at that moment beat the piss out of one another, then eliminate each other, and you're stood there hunky-dory? It's like that tag team elimination chamber all over again. The men's one from a few years ago, not the women's one. So then we got to the injury angle in that opening main card match, and one word sprang to my mind, and that word was contrived. Io took the single best spear from Charlotte Flair that I have seen since Goldberg absolutely murdered Christian all the way back in day, so I guess that part of the injury angle, that was fine. Io Shirai no longer has ribs. But Candice LeRae, she took a super kick. And this isn't Shawn Michaels in 1996 anymore, boys and girls. Let's not pretend that a super kick here in 2019 is nothing more than a transitional move. Every booker does them. I mean, you can see what they were trying to do with this injury angle, but bloody hell, were they trying hard to get there, weren't they? And again, I've got to ask, why are people breaking things up when it's an elimination match? So Kyrie hits the insane elbow on Tony, yet Sasha Banks is whapping out her blue neelies to break up the pin, even though Tony is quite clearly dead. It makes no sense. You remember back in the summer when Sasha Banks returned to WWE to reveal that all people with blue hair are horrible people? Who did she punch in the mouth after hugging and go, "Oh, it's lovely to be back"? Thwack! It was Natalya. Whose dead dad did she take the piss out of for many weeks after that? It was Natalya. Whose catnip did she piss in many months after that initial return? It might have been Natalya's. I might be making stuff up now. Well, there's one question to ask here, Natalya, you daft woman. What the hell are you doing trusting Sasha Banks, the same woman who did almost all of those things I've just said there? Did Natalya forget everything that happened? Has Natalya not been watching Sasha Banks and Bayley, I guess, as well, being massive arseholes on television every single week? What an absolute tool Natalya really is. I mean, I don't give a hoot about Natalya in terms of WWE here in 2019. I know she's a nice lady off the camera and total divas, that's hunky-dory, but Jesus Christ, WWE, they don't do this woman any favours, do they? Unbelievable. Now, I'm glad that Kevin Owens went on to mention this, but Seth Rollins, of all people, moaning at people for their lack of loyalty. Ha, you bad person. That's like me moaning at you for not leading a life with a healthy, balanced diet, isn't it? God, you just hate that man in and out of kayfabe just because of how oblivious he is to the things he does wrong every single day. Not every single day, every week at least, though. Dun, 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 dun. Kevin Dunne, how dare you get that man that close to the edge, then cut him off. Look at Roddy there, man. I mean, we've all heard of the phrase being blue-balled, haven't we? But Kevin Dunne blue-balled Roddy Strong so hard there by cutting off the Undisputed Era steam just before the boom that his entire body has turned blue. Never ever do that again, Kevin. It's unhealthy. So next up, we have a direct quote from Michael Cole, who was lying through his annoying little face as to why Mauro Ranallo was not calling the NXT Championship match. This is what Michael said, and I'm not doing the impression because we shouldn't be celebrating such blatant lies, should we? Normally Mauro Ranallo, the voice of NXT, would be in this seat. Mauro was so emotional, so passionate last night at NXT TakeOver War Games that he blew his voice out. Now obviously all of the details about this situation aren't out there yet, so we can't really say anything for sure. We know that Corey Graves publicly bashed his colleague on Twitter. We know that Mauro Ranallo, apparently from seeing these tweets, felt the need to delete his Twitter account. We know that Mauro and Frank Shamrock rocked up to Survivor Series but left the event early because of reasons. And then we know fine well by now Corey Graves has made an absolute massive arsehole of himself on Twitter by tweeting so much about this situation but without saying sorry or just, you know, without putting the situation straight. Corey's had so many chances to say, here what happened. Dave Meltzer, you're wrong. Here's the facts. Here's what happened. But he hasn't chosen to do that, and that, to me, a hack on the internet, screams guilt, doesn't it? Now, before the NXT Championship match, we saw Kyle and we saw Bobby, and they were limping, kind of. We saw the women who were involved in the Women's War Game match not looking too hurt until Io and Candice LeRae got, you know, removed. But this sight right here was the step that snapped the Kevin Nash's quad. Sorry, Kevin. Less than a day after being murdered for the second time in his life, Adam Cole is walking out there with absolutely nought wrong with him. Yes, we learned later on when he took his shirt off that the ribs were taped, but it would appear that the way he was moving around the ring, yes, he went, oh, a couple of times, but he was flipping every single direction possible. That fall at the hands of Tommaso Ciampa did nought. And that's got to be wrong, hasn't it? Pete Dunne, of course. Yes, he had a triple threat match against two big sweaty men. Yes, he was thrown around, but nothing as bad as what happened to Adam Cole happened to Pete Dunne at War Games, yet Pete Dunne was just as hurt as Adam Cole was. And that makes no sense to me. And this just leads me to believe that War Games 2019 was nothing more than a hallucination. It didn't happen, did it? What the hell's going on? And I don't want to sound like an old racist, but bloody hell, after everything Pete Dunne went through at War Games, seeing him take a Panama Sunrise on the ring apron, getting hoisted back in the ring, kicked in the face, getting pinned, and then kicking out in 2 3/4. However, now I'm not old-fashioned and I don't abide by the theory that, you know, oh, back in the 70s and 80s it was much better than today. Because it wasn't, quite frankly. It's more entertaining today. But at this point I was thinking, Pete, Adam, we've gone way too far here, lads. And I want you at home to forget everything I've just said in the previous minute or so, because next up we saw Adam Cole reversing a bitter end into a Panama Sunrise in one swift motion. And how the piss do you even think about doing that? Never mind actually doing it with your own bloody body. Wrestling's good, isn't it? It's very good. Reckon Kevin Dunne picked that song. Turn the red lights off. Put the house lights back on. We cannot see a pissing thing when it's happening outside the ring, and we can barely see what's happening in the ring to begin with. And I cannot believe they did this, boys and girls, but somehow they made this red light that the Fiend wrestles in even worse by making it flicker. It was so pissing annoying, wasn't it? Just... eee. And then we had Michael Cole, who claims that this is a Universal Championship match, the likes of which we've never had. And I was asking, what the hell does that mean, Michael? It's a singles match for the Universal title. Was it because the lights were red? Is it because the belt was blue for the first time when it's been on the line? In the words of old Shania Twain, that clutching of straws there don't impress me much. Somebody touching my spaghetti. And then Daniel Bryan, after teasing it for so long, finally did the yes thing. The yes movement's back, and it's like it's 2014 all over again. So next up we have the moment where Bray Wyatt had the mandible claw locked on Daniel Bryan's mouth, yet the referee was shouting at the top of his lungs, "Bryan, what do you say, man? Bryan, what do you say?" And I reckon this is what Bryan would have said right then if he could have actually said anything. You wouldn't have a clue if he said, "Yes, I give up," or "No, I want to continue," would you? What was the point in asking the question, referee? And next up we have Ron Mysterious saying, "Can you believe it's been almost 15 years since I first wrestled Brock Lesnar?" And I did some digging and I found out it's actually been just over 17 years since Ron Mysterious and Brock Lesnar first did the wrestling inside of a WWE ring. And this match is an actual match that happened back in October 2002. It was Ray and it was Edge versus the tag team of Brock Lesnar and Tajiri. Wow. It was that old SmackDown tag team tournament that culminated with that triple threat at Survivor Series. You know the one I'm talking about, don't you? Shades of Samoa Joe last year as Drew McIntyre says, "No, I pay the council bills round here." That's a throwback to our reactions last year. What a load of nonsense. But a Drew McIntyre Claymore kick right to the face of a big bruising heel got them eliminated 3 seconds into the match. Proving even further that in WWE's eyes, NXT UK wrestlers are not real WWE superstars. It feels horrible to say every single time I say it, but this is the message we're being told. And it's absolute bollocks, isn't it? Because even though I firmly believe that the big foreign heel who takes on the white meat American babyface in the main event is really outdated in professional wrestling, Volta had everything to be that man. But on the Raw match with Rollins, where he needed help from his pals, and this here, he's got a long way to climb back now, hasn't he? Not that far, but you know, quite a way. This could have been the match where you made a brand new main event level heel and a stable Imperium as well. But no, fans around the world who had never seen Volta before only got a little taster. I guess there's next time, isn't there? Judging by Survivor Series and that Raw match, the next time will be miserable, won't it? All the best, Volta. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty Keith. Now I fully understand that referee's discretion is a thing in professional wrestling. It's an easy way out when the referee doesn't apply the rules and then just, you know, whoop. But we saw Braun Strowman counted out, but then we had a sequence with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns and Tommaso Ciampa, and Keith Lee as well, I guess, that was outside the ring for roughly 45 minutes and the ref didn't out. Made a grave mistake, Corey. And next up we have the moment where Corey Graves came out with the line of the decade. Yes, the best line of commentary all the way through the 2010s when he said that Seth Rollins was 1 second away from becoming the Keith Slayer. bollocks to it. I'm going for it, Corey. I'm learning from the best. Does that mean when Seth Rollins gets back in catering and cracks into a quiche, that makes him a quiche slayer? Or when he goes for seconds at the Toby Carvery, does that make him a feast slayer? And then he goes into a golden field for a bit of a frolic. He kicks over a few plants, you know, the golden ones. Does that make him a yeast slayer? And then he goes home for Christmas. He sees that Becky Lynch has put a thing on his front door, you know, the green fuzzy thing. Does that make him a wreath slayer, Corey? One more, why not? Does he not go round to Slater's house and then murder a ginger man? Does that make him a Heath Slayer? Where does it end, Corey? And then we have that controversy involving big old Keith. Did Keith kick out or was Keith pinned down? Keith kicked out, didn't he? Yes, he did. But after that, Nigel McGuinness said, lads and lasses, the referee's decision is final. Unless, of course, it's the 1 or 2 times a year where WWE think, oh, we'll just have a referee sit at the back, and oh, we'll let that referee come out from the back and correct the referee in the ring who has made a mistake. It makes my brain fry, so it does. Be consistent all the time or never at all. Is he supposed to be my close personal friend Joaquin Phoenix's Joker? Or is he supposed to be Doink the Clown? To me, at least, it looks way more like Doink than it does Arthur Fleck. And anyway, me being the hack, I've got a hack theory. Arthur has no children. Doink had a child called Dink. Ronald has a child called Dom. Dom is Dink. Paul Heyman cannot do the maths. He claims that his client is weighing in at 285 pounds, which is roughly 2.5 Ronald Mysteriouses. And that's even though Ronald Mysterious weighed in at 170 pounds and 2 Ronald Mysteriouses to begin with is 340 plus the half, and that's too much maths for me. And then the spirit of television's Dominic Littlewood was running wild at Survivor Series 2019 as Ronald Mysterious said to himself, I'm not gonna get done, I'm gonna get Dom. Out came Dominic Mysterious. Oh, it was lovely. Goodness me, Dom has been training. We first of all had the 12-2-18. We had Dom's frog splash, which looked absolutely devastating. We had Ronald's splash, we had the near fall, and that was professional wrestling from the very top draw. Now, I didn't give 2 hoots about Dom before that happened there, but now I'm on board. The Dom train is pulling out the station, and a local BDSM club near you. Go on, Dom. Oh my God, it says AEW down her middle. Shove that nonsense up your arse. Man with sign, get in bin. And then we had Corey Graves, who said that all 3 women in that main event are proud representatives of their brands, even though he must have seen Raw last week where Becky Lynch stood there and said, I don't give a bollocks about your brand supremacy. This is my show. That's right, Becky. Even though every single person watching that main event fell asleep, we all saw you there. We all saw you there. You bollocks you. And that's it for the WTF Moments from Survivor Series 2019. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com. Is this the last time I'll be holding this Cultaholic Heavyweight title across my shoulder until TLC? Maybe. You'll have to watch the reactions. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us